Hi, hello, and welcome to Collecting Logs, Metrics, Traces from Flask app session. I'm Arvind, and I work at Elastic as a developer advocate. I also blog at aravind.dev, and my DMs are open on Twitter. If you have questions or any queries regarding Elastic or DevOps or any open source technologies, feel free to DM me. I also write a newsletter on open source, various developer conferences like these at devshorts.in. Please do subscribe. It's a weekly newsletter. So that being said, let us quickly get on to the session today because we have very short window, and I also want to demo collecting logs, metrics, and traces, which is going to be very interesting to watch. So basically, Elastic Stack is a free and open source stack, which has multiple components, which helps you to do bunch of things. Actually, it could double up, like it's basically a search engine, but it could also double up to become an observability engine or also a security or threat hunting engine. Like Elasticsearch is the heart and soul of this thing. If you are very new to it, all of these products are very downloadable. Like you could go to elastic.co/downloads. These are free to download, free to use. All the things that I'm showing today are something that you could go and build on your own without even giving an email to anyone. So you could deploy it on any cloud as well. So Elasticsearch is a distributed NoSQL data store, come search engine, which can ingest a lot of data of different types of sizes, shapes, and tenures. And then you have Kibana, which is a visualizer which sits on top of Elasticsearch. And then you have Logstash and Beats, which are data ingestion modules, which can push data into Elasticsearch. Apart from these ingestion technologies, you also have a lot of other ingestion based technologies that also can ship data into Elasticsearch. That is something that we are gonna talk a bit about definitely. So, but the key thing to remember is the beats and APM agents that I'm going to discuss today. And now, if you are from the DevOps world, if you are even from the developer world and have great knowledge on open source, you might have heard about ELK, which is nothing but Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. The trio is lovingly called as ELK stack or ELK in general. So Elastic Stack is just another way to call this thing because there are so many components, and we are out of acronyms to call things. And then, like, because it is now more than what all these three components are. Now that being said, the stack helps you to interact, build various solutions. Like I said previously, it could be your search, it could be your DevOps related or CI/CD observability or different sorts of observability, which we are going to talk today, and again security, that like anti-malware, threat hunting, etc. So you might also have questions like who uses Elasticsearch. Like I've been telling that Elasticsearch can do that, this and all, but who can potentially use Elasticsearch? So it could be a developer who loves coding and but wants really less bugs, to see his or her code nice, better. It could be a DevOps person who is kind of like wants all the systems to be healthy, functioning well, and does everything nicely, and like automate will everything is properly processed, and no configuration mistakes. It could be a SecOps person who is looking after the network security, system security, or any sort of security, but also want to monitor the security events coming out of them, and then do all of this. It could also be a product owner looking after the product performance, and kind of like looking at how much time does this specific page loads in. It does it take 8 seconds, or how many calls are coming, how many errors that we are generating, and can we fix them or make such plans actually. So if you are a product owner or someone like a business analyst as well, you could potentially use Elasticsearch to do debug and find issues or do various things as well. So this is one way of to look at things. There are many more possibilities, but I think these are the personas. If you are from observability or DevOps background or a system engineering background, you would very well resonate to what I'm trying to tell. Now that being said, I would just simply give you an example of what Elasticsearch does and how this specific scenario that I'm trying to explain would matter to you. So say if I'm a developer, or if you're a developer generally, what we do is like usually code, and of course probably listening to nice songs as well, and then like kind of push that code to our data centers or cloud, whatever we were working in. And then the user who's sitting on the other end would access this application for their use cases, for probably booking a ticket, to probably like searching for something, or like maybe another developer, even like if you are building an API, there is another internal developer in your company who might be using this particular platform itself. But then the user might also face a disruption in the service, like the tickets or the thing that they are trying to do with this particular application might not be working at all, or it might be showing certain amount of warnings, like say if a specific browser is not properly loading in a way that they want to load, or like a specific version of API is not working or giving intermittently some issues, or it might be taking more amount of time to kind of like give proper results. So these are the issues that probably a lot of users might be seeing, and but you as a developer sitting on the other end might not have great knowledge into all of this. And that is where you could use technologies like elastic stack, and then probably like push all of this data into elastic stack, and thereby you could enable that bidirectional reporting and monitoring throughout your infrastructure, and getting to know about what are these events that are happening in your infrastructure. So this is one way to put through, like, if you want to know what's happening from the internal state of application, this is what is called observability. So there are many definitions, many approaches that we could talk about. I'll also talk about another approach that probably if you are from a system engineering point of view and you don't probably push code but you push configs, or you try to maintain the systems, like then how would you solve the problem? Then like why would it matter if you why should you collect logs, metrics and traces? So yeah, how do you do all of that? Like, obviously everyone would say like, collect all the data, and then you will be able to see all of this. And that is what probably every team would also do. And then they would be using one or the other of these technologies. Like this is a screenshot that I have taken from the CNCF landscape. So each of them are different sort of open source or like, proprietary or a SaaS solution projects. They kind of like either are monitored by this particular CNCF, which is a cloud native computing foundation. If you haven't heard of them, do look at it. Obviously the popular one, Kubernetes. As you could see here, you could monitor with various tools, or like log with various tools, or trace with various tools. Each of them are very interesting as well, and very important. So but then like there is something like cool tool fatigue, as you could understand that there are so many tools to choose from, what tool to use and how would you use. So what is the specialty? Why should I put it into Elasticsearch, or why should I use this free and open technology, or something like that? So you might think of that. I'm not going to tell that, okay, this is why it is better, this is not, it's not better. I'm going to just show you an example and leave it for you to try it out and feel what you feel like. And if you have feedback, feel free to like also share information about me. So usual scenario, when you start collecting this data, so what happens is you try to kind of like, collect whatever but that is relevant to that specific team. Like say APM, which is like application performance monitoring. What people would do is like people would want to collect the transaction monitoring information, request response times, and like, the performance, and then trace the code, how the water flow is happening of the code, the execution. And then if there are any errors that are occurring, how would the errors like what scenario or what user flow the error has occurred, or what time it has occurred. So these are the specific things that are collected. Likewise, each team, say if you have a DevOps team or if you have a developer team, like each team would collect something very specific. In some cases, all of this might be doing by a single person, which is very good, but then like the tools might be different, because like they were using different tools to collect different data for different reasons. Like again, it could be an organizational thing as well. But what like I said in the first slide, like how a developer pushes and like tries to collect, and what observability that they would get in a similar manner, you could also see all of this has a common timeline, right? Like, you have everything, the data points are generated at a common time. And then that is where, if you would want to like, unify all of this data set into a common place, like a common data store, and that helps you to do more, like that helps you to do the achieve the observability and help you to correlate things much better. So we are also going to talk about correlation. We are also going to talk about how like, specifically the correlation would work, and what open source projects that we are using to do all of that. So this is precisely two ways to I kind of like put through what observability is. Like one way is like from the developer point of view, if you are looking to observe what's happening in your internal data infrastructure. Another one is like, how you could unify all of this thing and try to correlate it and build something like an observable platform. So these are two ways that I am explaining. Now, like I said, I want to go a bit deeper, a step down, and also explain you what are the frameworks, tools that are there, which are very, very popular, not like the full landscape, but then explain a deep into it. Like obviously Elasticsearch is popular tool for pushing logs into Elasticsearch, and analyzing, building log and dashboards on top of it. And then you have like Jaeger, which is a popular code distributed tracing solution, again a CNCF project that you could use in parallel in with the Kubernetes. And then you have Prometheus, which is a popular metric store. It can store metrics that are happening that are from your infrastructure. And then you have metrics exporters, and then you could export it to a backend like Elasticsearch as well for the long-term storage and analysis. And then on top of it, you have Zipkin, which is another code tracing, another open source platform. I believe now Open Tracing, which I'm showing right now, the logo here. Open Tracing is also very popular, but Open Tracing and Open Census have merged together to form something called Open Telemetry, which is a very popular project in now, which is vendor agnostic. And then you could use the agent and switch a different vendor every time. Open Telemetry is very is coming up right really fast, and it's also a CNCF project. Apart from that, you have Elastic APM, so beats and everything in this area. So there are so many projects again, like, and how, what is the best way? There is no one best way. You could also use different tools to collect and unify and correlate this data. The good part is Elasticsearch supports all of this as an integration, and you could simply use one or the other integration to either collect from these frameworks or tools, and then still send the data for further correlation and further sanitization or further analysis as well. Now, how the architecture of an APM situation would look like. So suppose if you have a microservice application which has multiple services written in different language, which includes Python or any framework, right? Of course, the agent should support the specific framework, but then you have multiple apps with different programming languages, and then you could also send the data to APM server, and then it sends to Elasticsearch, and then like Kibana. Now, it's a simple thing. You could download Elasticsearch, Kibana, Elasticsearch, and then APM server, and then kickstart this. Or you could use a cloud service like Elastic Cloud to simply build on top of it, and then collect this tracing. Elasticsearch, all of these technologies are cloud agnostic. You could use it on your own data center, or any other cloud platform. On top of it, you could also use it on a Kubernetes platform. If you are very much well versed with Kubernetes, I wouldn't recommend to get started with Kubernetes, because it's also a distributed system. Elasticsearch is also a distributed system. You might take some time to learn all of these concepts in brief. So I wouldn't recommend you to go through the Elastic Cloud or Kubernetes way. If you are a beginner into this technology, I would also always recommend you to go through it, of course. But we have an operator for Elastic Cloud on Kubernetes, so that you could deploy this entire thing for free again, and use all of the things that I'm trying to tell today in a simple manner. Now, while we are talking about all these tools, right? Each tool still ships the data in a different format, right? Obviously, each tool has its own functionality. Like say Open Tracing in a separate data format, maybe a JSON, but it has different attributes. So while I'm talking about you can correlate that, you can analyze that, you can further bring it down to Elasticsearch. What uniqueness that the project offers you to probably do all of this, collecting all of this and then do that. So the Elastic has this specific thing called common data schema, which is Elastic Common Schema, which also is an open source project that you could use. And then Elastic Common Schema is like a schema that all these tools which are compliant, which we make compliant. In fact, we help you to ship the data, gets shipped from that agent, but then we convert, put it in a proper format using our logging libraries, which I'm going to demo it now. And then using that, you could correlate later and show see at this log line what is the metric for that particular system, or at this particular trace what is the specific log inputs or metrics that are getting generated. You could do that triangulation, you could do pinpointing of a specific issue that is happening in your infrastructure very easily, as much as data you could bring in from multiple disparate systems actually. So that's why it is very useful for even security researchers, or folks who are in the DevSecOps line as well, so that they could literally merge your DevOps or your SecOps functionality and try to bring in this particular observability approach into everything. Now quickly let me kind of take a pause and then like show you the entire app, etc., that I have in the interest of time, I have not downloaded and running in this laptop because I'm also recording this session, or showing this session. What I'm kind of I have done is, like, I have created a python apac elastic cloud deployment. You could go and click on the deployments, and then you could see a create deployment. Like, you could go to cloud.elastic.co, create a simple account using your Google, Microsoft, and whatever it is, and then create deployment. And then you could simply kind of like create a deployment so easily, and then with whatever the cloud that you are interested in, you could choose what cloud you want to use, and then, like, what area that you want to deploy, like which region, and then simply deploy elastic cloud deployment, which would deploy you elasticsearch instance, kibana instance, an apm server, also an enterprise search instance. So if you really want, you can shut them out, which if you don't want the instances that you want. But then if you are using for observability, you might want to use that. So specifically, I have this particular Elasticsearch instance deployed. And what I would like to do is, like, now start integrating this into my app. Now, what is my app and where does it really look like? So I have a Python Flask app. This is the file structure of it. Like, I have a simple main.py, which contains two or three endpoints here, like the main endpoint, and then, like, I have a search bar, I have an index. I have already indexed the data, which is a movies data set, the Indian Bollywood movies I have indexed. And then this is powered by a search engine in Elasticsearch that is shipping all of that. So let me quickly start this particular the app, and then show you what's there and how it would look like. It's also, yes, it's also integrated with the css framework, which is a tailwind. So yeah, it's a bit relatively new. So what I'm gonna do is simply clear and say python main.py, and then it simply kickstarts the specific app. As you could see, let me increase the size. Yes. So I have this app which is running and on my machine, and then let me simply open. As you could see, it is taking a bit of time because maybe my laptop is a bit slow, but otherwise the app loads pretty quick, and it's also available on the GitHub. I would throw the link here if you want to directly go to the GitHub link and then try to see what this app looks like. Uh, Yes, this is the app search Flask app. You could go and look at that. I have integrated the search engine. I have also done everything. So the same code that is available that I'm showing here is also available there. So you could also go and look at that as well. Now, I have this PyCharm app. I'm sorry. I have this specific app which is saying PyCharm 2021, and then because I have done a similar session on search sometime back at PyCharm. So if you want to take a look at that, you can do that. So then I have this the search bar. I could search for various movies or various text or whatever it is, and then, like, it will give me a result on whatever I'm trying to search. I have a bunch of movies that I specifically I'm seeing here, which would show me the result. I don't know why it is really slow, but then it should not be if you are not recording or looking at various things. Now let me quickly the Okay, now let me quickly go to the app, and then also show you, if you are how do you integrate logs, metrics, traces, and understand how this app works in real life, and how you could probably run all of this. So as you could see that this is a simple app, there is nothing crazy here. I have a different branch running here. Let us integrate this data into this particular branch. So I have a branch called 5 APM logs. I'll click that, and then, like, you would see some changes happening in the background. Yeah. So Let me show you the changes. So I have a simple change, which is the config.json. What config.json has is the credentials that would require it to kind of like take it to what do you call ship the data, the logs metrics to a specific Elasticsearch instance. So let me take a look at that and show you. Yes. Okay, so as you could see that I have the search engine connections, like the cloud service where I have this search engine running, and then I'm giving the API key and the engine name, etc. Now, similar way, I could also give the APM server URL service name that I want to showcase, and then also like the secret token that is needed for the data to be shipped. So as you could see here, I have all of those because I have created the cloud instance previously, so I can just simply go and cherry pick them and copy the endpoint. Like, say I'm copying the APM endpoint, and yeah, it says copied, and then paste it here. Similarly, I have the service name. Service name can be anything. I'm just it need not be the same cloud instance name. There is no relation to that, but just because we are in the same conference, and then we are talking about that, let me say PyCon APAC, and that would be great. And then I also have a secret token that I could give here, which is like APM and fleet, and then I could go and literally collect the secret token that is there, because secret token is not mentioned there. I have to pick it from here in a specific menu. So these are the details that you need to fill in this app. You could go and deploy a cloud instance and start doing this. Alternatively, you could download the APM server. APM server runs on 8200 port when you spin up locally, and then you give a service name of your choice, and also like you could also generate a secret token if it is not HTTPS based servers, because if you are running locally, you might not need a secret token to run that. So you could remove those things there, as well as in the code. Do remember, I have a code which kind of like brings in this agent, and then shows you all of that. So let me go to the code and also show you that what I am specially adding to collect logs, metrics, and traces. As you could see, I have imported a bunch of the packages. First one is the Elastic Enterprise Search, which is the search engine based package that you have in the requirements file as well. And then the Flask framework, then a bunch of them which are related to something logging, Elastic APM, etc. So Elastic APM is the tracing tool that we are using, that agent that would ship data to Elasticsearch or the APM server. And then you have the logging. So what we also do is, like, as part of this shipping the traces, we also can collect the logs that are happening. The logging in this app is also collected and brought up to the Elasticsearch, so that you could have the correlation in place, all the IDs in place. So each trace is given an ID, trace ID, and a transaction ID for each transaction. So you could go and correlate, or find what are the logs for this particular trace. You could do that. So you could find out things like that. Say I have those configured here. I'm loading all those config from the config.json, and then app search, and then you have the Elastic APM and those configurations here. So as you could see, I have the app logger info, and I'm saying welcome to the movies app, and various other stuff. I also have some other, whenever each time I'm calling query, I'm just logging that. So all of this is enrolled or put up in this code that I have here. I'm just using a stream handler and collecting that handler, but I'm setting a specific sort of formatter and log all this thing into a log file called app.log, which I'm gonna show you when I'm running it in a Unicorn server. All of this would be a JSON logging. We are shipping the JSON directly, and to ship this log app.log, I'm using something called file beat, which is a beats which I showed previously. So essentially what we are trying to do is, we have a Flask app, and we have added these agents, wrote that code, connected to that server that we have, and then eventually running with Gunicon and logging it to app.log. That log is sent by a file beat. So you could listen again. So basically we are sending data, and then from all sorts of data, the metrics, the logs, the traces from this app, with few lines of code, few connection, and an agent called file beat. So Let me quickly kind of run it with Unicorn so that it's ready, and you could simply go and run it. So I have the Unicorns with two workers, bind it to 5000 port, and return to an output called app.log. So let me show you that. So as you could see, this is more important now. So let me show that. So you could also dockerize this specific machine, and then also kind of push it to a service like Azure App Service or App Engine, or you could also run it in a container instance. There are many possibilities that you could do. And on the other hand, I would also like to kind of start the the file beat that we have here. I'm already in the file beat server. So what I did is like I have downloaded the file beat, and I also copied that into the the code here. As you, if you have seen previously when I'm showing the code, that's how it is here. It's not checked in because it is a version component, and you don't want spam binary, you want to upgrade to a latest one. And then I simply can type file beat -e, which shows us more information about what's happening behind the scene. So this will ship the logs that we are generating, and then it will also and then helps us to look at everything from a same point of view. Now all of this is happening on my laptop, so you might see a bit of lag or a bit of slowness, but then usually if you deploy it in a cloud service and cloud environment, this is quite easy, so you don't need to worry about all of that. So let us quickly open this service and see if I am whatever I am trying to do would come to here or not, or also see whether if our app is really running or not. If not, we might need to debug that. So let me quickly go to the main page and select to run this particular app. As you could see, it's more it's taking more time because of my system memory and everything, but otherwise otherwise you could see that. So the app is running, it's ready, it's all good. So let us quickly go to the services, the Kibana part. So how did I come here? I just clicked on the open APM app function here, which is there, and then I'm just shipping that and just I opened the page, it lands me onto this particular Kibana page, this particular Kibana page, wherein I could see what's happening in the instance. So let me click refresh here to see if there is any service named PyCon APAC, and within the last 15 minutes that has sent traces. So yeah, I think there's a service named PyCon APAC that it's just started, which shows a specific latency, throughput, failed transaction rate, etc., etc. So let me click on Python APAC and see if I could show you the traces, the logs and everything. So the overview page shows a bunch of things, like the latency that the API is that the app is having, or you can also calculate it via the metrics like 95th percentile, 99th percentile, etc. And you have the throughput and then transactions, and if you have any errors that I have created a custom errors or sorts, so that's shown here. And then if there are any dependencies like MySQL or any database, now here we have search engine, so it shows that. So also the laptop or the node, the metrics from that particular machine is also collected here, like memory usage, etc., etc. So now like I said, it could monitor that particular transaction. You could go to the transactions and see that what are the transactions that are monitored here. There is only get transaction because we only called this particular thing. If you search, it will start looking at the search as well. Like say if I say love and I search for that specific sort of it calls an API called search behind the scenes in the Flask app, and that should eventually return us to see how these things are laid. I mean, you could also see the transaction here. If I could refresh here, yeah, as you could see, there is a post search API here, which shows a specific latency, failed transaction site. If you want to go in deep into it and see how the trace would look like, you can click on that, and then thereby it will expand to how the throughput time spent by each span, and then if there are any failed transaction rate, there are not all traces, like everything is traced. Like usually it is set to trace everything, but then you could also reduce to trace only a specific sample of the transactions. Like you see that when I search this, it is taking like around 952 milliseconds. It's quite good amount of time because I'm running everything on my laptop. And then like it took like 468 millisecond to call the server and then like give results. If I want to optimize this app, I would probably like run it on a cloud instance and then probably do all of this in much better fashion. But then like that is an action for me to take, and then I could also go and click on this particular span. These are called spans, and this is a trace, and then it's a one specific transaction for get slash post sort slash search. And if I click on this particular thing, it would show me the details of the this particular span and the meta information. It says HTTP 2xx, like everything, and then it shows me all of that very easily. So let us wait for it and see. Yeah, as you could see, it shows all the HTTP body, what search I have done, etc. And then from which agent, user agent it has started, and what is the if you are using a specific container, it will also show the container related information. You will also click on investigate and go deeper into what logs, etc. You could do all of that correlation much easier. So let me come back to see the metrics of the machine that I'm running. So my laptop, and I don't think it will be really great. Yeah, it's on the higher side of 50%. And then the system memory usage is also around 30%. And then you have the logs. So the logs are like we are sending it via FileBeat. As you could see, while we are trying to access this application, you would see the logs that are coming to this particular machine. Yeah, it's saying starting Conicon and welcomes to app. As and when I make more requests, the logs will be pushed from there, collected, pushed, and like pushed to this particular machine. Last but not the least, you could also see a service map of all of these agents. If you have multiple services, microservices, and your Python application is interacting with multiple upstream or downstream or parallel services, you would also see it in a large screen, like and observe what's happening in your service, what's the throughput and the high level. So all of this can be done and correlated, and you would end of the day you would probably get a much better access in how to do all of this. So I have this application, I mean I have this GitHub repo that you could take a look at it, and then you follow through the Git different branches that I have mentioned, 1 2 3 4 5 in a sequential manner, and you could implement this in your organization. And I have some resources to share as well. So if you want to ask more questions about Elastic or the stack or APM or anything, there's an open discuss forum, IT forum that we have that you could simply ask questions here. And then we also run meetups in multiple countries, which includes Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and everywhere, even in India. So if you are interested to participate or speak at one of those meetups, and if you have thoughts to share, please do write to meetups@elastic.co, or you could also write to the chapter in each region. We are doing regular meetups in the region. And then there are free trainings. If you are more interested, you could do that. We have a Slack group if you want to join, Elastic Slack that is there. And then obviously the documentation link, if you want to go to the guide, it is ela.st/observe. That being said, thanks for watching this session. And if you have more questions, feel free to DM me, and don't forget to subscribe to DevShots.min. Thank you.